My cheating wife said I would never leave her, so I served her the next day. I never thought I would be that guy. You know, the one who gets cheated on by his wife. The one who's left picking up the pieces of his shattered life while his cheating partner goes off to start a new one with someone else. But here I am, standing in front of my cheating wife, holding divorce papers in my hand. She's looking at me with a mixture of disbelief and arrogance, as if I'm not really going to go through with it. As if I'm going to forgive her for what she's done and stay with her like nothing happened. I can't believe you're doing this, she says, her voice dripping with condescension. Well, you cheated on me, I reply, trying to keep my cool. What did you think was going to happen? I thought you loved me enough to forgive me, she says, her voice shaking slightly. I do love you, I say, my own voice starting to break. But I can't stay with someone who doesn't respect me enough to be faithful. She looks at me for a moment, her eyes searching for something. Maybe a way to convince me to stay. But I've already made up my mind. I can't stay with her, not after what she's done. Please, she says, her voice now pleading. Just give me another chance. I promise I'll never cheat on you again. I want to believe her. I really do. But how can I trust her again? How can I be sure that she won't do this again in the future? I'm sorry, I say, handing her the divorce papers. I can't do this anymore. She takes the papers from me, her hands shaking. She looks at them for a moment before looking back up at me. You're really going to leave me? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper. I have to, I say, turning away from her. I can't stay with someone who doesn't love me enough to be faithful. I walk out of the house, leaving her standing there with the divorce papers in her hand. I don't look back. I can't look back. Not now. For the next few weeks, I'm a mess. I can't eat, I can't sleep, and I can barely function at work. But slowly, I start to heal. I start to realize that I'm better off without her, that I deserve someone who will treat me with love and respect. And then one day, I meet someone. Her name is Rachel, and she's everything I never knew I wanted. She's kind, funny, and smart. She makes me feel alive again. At first, I'm hesitant. I don't want to get hurt again. But Rachel is patient. She understands what I've been through, and she's willing to wait for me to open up. Slowly but surely, I start to let my guard down. I start to trust her, and before I know it, we're in a relationship. It's not always easy. I still have my moments of doubt and insecurity, but Rachel is always there for me. She listens to me, she supports me, and she loves me for who I am. And eventually, I realize that I'm happy again. Happier than I ever was with my cheating wife. I'm in love with Rachel, and she's in love with me. I never thought I would be that guy, the one who gets cheated on by his wife. But now, looking back, I realize that it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to leave someone who didn't love me enough to be faithful, and it led me to someone who loves me for who I am. Someone who makes me a better person and who I can see a future with. My cheating wife tried to convince me that I would never leave her, but she was wrong. Leaving her was the best decision I ever made. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary for me to move on and find true happiness. As for my ex-wife, I heard through the grapevine that she ended up marrying the man she cheated on me with. I don't know what happened to them, and quite frankly, I don't care. I'm too busy building a new life with Rachel, a life full of trust, respect, and love. Looking back on that day when I served my cheating wife with divorce papers, I realize now that it was the first step in a journey that led me to where I am today. And for that, I'm grateful. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. Story 2. She cheats but says I can't live without her, so I cheat back and then leave her. I never thought I would be the type of person to cheat on my partner, but things change when you are constantly being betrayed. That's exactly what happened to me when I was with my ex-girlfriend, Jenna. Jenna was beautiful, charming, and had a way of making me feel like I was the luckiest guy in the world. We were together for 2 years and I thought things were going great. That is until I caught her cheating on me with her co-worker. I was devastated. I had put so much trust and love into her, and she had thrown it all away for a fling. Jenna begged me to forgive her and promised that it would never happen again. I was hesitant, but I loved her and I wanted to believe that she was telling the truth. Fast forward a few months and things were good again. We were back to our usual routine of date nights, cuddling, and weekend getaways. However, something was off. I couldn't shake the feeling that Jenna was hiding something from me. One day, I decided to confront her about it. At first, she denied everything, but eventually, she broke down and admitted that she had been seeing her ex-boyfriend behind my back. I was livid. I couldn't believe that she would do this to me again. Once again, Jenna begged me to forgive her, saying that she couldn't live without me. I tried to believe her, but my trust in her had been shattered for the second time. It was at that moment that I made a decision. If she was going to cheat on me, then I was going to cheat on her too. I know it sounds petty, but I wanted to show her how it felt to be betrayed. So I started seeing other women. At first, it was just a way to get back at Jenna, but eventually, I realized that I enjoyed being with other people. I was young, and I wanted to experience new things. Jenna found out about my infidelity and was devastated. She couldn't believe that I would do the same thing to her that she had done to me. But, unlike her, I didn't beg for forgiveness. I told her that I was done with the relationship and that I couldn't be with someone who couldn't stay loyal. It was hard to leave Jenna. We had been through so much together, and I had invested so much time and love into the relationship. But I knew that it was the right thing to do. After we broke up, I took some time to focus on myself. I traveled, met new people, and tried new things. It was liberating to not have to worry about whether or not Jenna was being faithful. Eventually, I met someone new. She was smart, funny, and didn't play games. We hit it off immediately, and before I knew it, we were in a committed relationship. It's been a few years since Jenna and I broke up, and I've never been happier. I know that cheating isn't the answer to a relationship problem, but in my case, it was what I needed to do to move on. In the end, Jenna and I weren't meant to be together. She may have been beautiful and charming, but she was also a cheater, and I deserve better than that. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. Story 3. He slept with his secretary, so I took half of his business in the divorce. The day that my husband slept with his secretary was the day that everything changed. I had always suspected that something was going on between them, but I never thought it would come to this. I was devastated, of course, but I was also determined to make him pay for what he had done to me. I knew that he had built his business from the ground up and that it was his pride and joy. But I also knew that I had put up with his neglect and emotional abuse for too long, and that it was time for me to get my fair share. I hired the best divorce attorney in town and we went to work. We dug deep into the finances of the business and discovered that my husband had been siphoning off profits for years, without my knowledge or consent. We also discovered that he had been using company funds to lavish gifts on his secretary, including a new car, expensive jewelry, and trips to exotic locations. My attorney and I presented our case to the judge, and after a long and bitter battle, we emerged victorious. I was awarded half of my husband's business, as well as a generous settlement that ensured my financial security for years to come. My husband was furious, of course. He accused me of being greedy and vindictive, and he swore that he would never forgive me for what I had done. But I didn't care. I knew that I had done the right thing, and that I had finally taken control of my life. In the months that followed, I threw myself into my new role as a business owner. I had always been interested in finance and entrepreneurship, but I had never had the opportunity to pursue my dreams. Now, with half of my husband's business under my control, I was able to live out my passion. I worked hard to turn the struggling business around, and with the help of some talented employees, I was able to do just that. We implemented new strategies, streamlined operations, and focused on customer service. Before long, the business was thriving once again, and I was hailed as a savvy and successful entrepreneur. Meanwhile, my ex-husband was floundering. He had always relied on his business as a crutch, and without it, he was lost. He tried to start a new business on his own, but it was a complete failure. He turned to drinking and womanizing to numb the pain, but it only made things worse. I felt sorry for him, of course. We had been married for years, and I had once loved him deeply. But I also knew that he had brought this on himself. He had made his bed, and now he had to lie in it. In the end, I was grateful for what my ex-husband had done. Without his betrayal, I might never have found the courage to take control of my life. I might still be living in his shadow, putting up with his abuse, and wondering what might have been. But now, I was free. I was a successful business owner, a respected member of my community, and a woman who knew what she wanted. And I have my ex-husband to thank for that. As I look back on the painful journey that had led me to where I was today, I realized that I had learned a lot about myself. I had learned that I was stronger than I ever thought possible, and that I had the power to create my own destiny. And I had also learned that sometimes, the greatest success comes from the greatest pain. If my ex-husband had not betrayed me, I might never have discovered my true potential. But now, I knew that I was capable of anything, and that nothing could hold me back. I want to know your thoughts on this one. Let me know in the comments below. Story 4. She cheated, and though she could take everything from me in the divorce, that plan failed. I never thought it would come to this. My marriage was falling apart, and I knew it. But I never expected that my wife would cheat on me and try to take everything from me in the divorce. We had been married for 10 years, and we had 2 children together. We built a life together, and I thought we had a strong relationship. But things started to change. She became distant, and I could tell something was wrong. I tried to talk to her about it, but she always shut me down. It wasn't until I caught her with another man that everything fell apart. I was devastated. I couldn't believe she would do this to me and our family. She begged me for forgiveness, but I couldn't bring myself to trust her again. We decided to get a divorce, and that's when things got messy. She hired a high-powered lawyer and tried to take everything from me. She wanted full custody of our children, the house, and even my retirement savings. I couldn't believe she would try to take everything from me, especially after what she had done. I was determined not to let her get away with it. I hired a lawyer of my own and fought back. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to do whatever it takes to protect my family and my future. The court battle was brutal. She pulled out all the stops, making up lies and trying to paint me as a terrible husband and father. But I refused to let her get away with it. I had evidence to prove that she was the one who had cheated, and I had always been a loving and devoted husband and father. In the end, justice prevailed. The court granted us joint custody of our children, and I was able to keep our house and my retirement savings. She didn't get everything she wanted, and I was relieved that I could still provide for my family and our future. But even after the divorce was final, things were still tough. I had to adjust to life as a single parent, and it was hard. But I knew I had to stay strong for my children. Slowly but surely, things started to get better. I started to build a new life for myself and my family. I found a new job that allowed me to provide for my children and still be there for them when they needed me. And even though my ex-wife tried to take everything from me, I didn't let her win. I proved to myself and to her that I was stronger than she thought. I was able to move on and find happiness again, and that was the best revenge. Looking back on everything, I realized that going through a divorce was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it also taught me a lot about myself and what I'm capable of. I learned that I'm stronger than I ever thought, and that I can handle anything that comes my way. I also learned that sometimes things don't work out the way we want them to. Sometimes people change and relationships fall apart. But even when things get tough, we can't give up. We have to keep fighting for what we believe in and what we know is right. In the end, I was able to come out of my divorce stronger and more resilient than ever before. And even though my ex-wife tried to take everything from me, she didn't win. I was able to rebuild my life and find happiness again. And that was the best revenge of all. When you sub, hit that little notification bell. Go ahead and click on the next video for more Tangled threads.